I've already started making some magic yarn, and now I'm going to continue. I have a whole lot of colors of Lion Brand Heartland yarn. What I'm going to do is take chunks of each color and connect them, and then I'll wind it all up into one giant ball of yarn. So I'm going to connect them using the magic knot. So I'm making magic yarn with a magic knot. So let me show you that real quick. I have my 2 pieces of yarn I want to join together. I'm going to take this pink, put it over and then under the blue, and then I'm going to wrap the pink around itself and back through and give it a tighten. Now I'm going to take this blue, wrap it over and then under the pink, and then I'm going to wrap the blue around itself and through that loop, give it a tighten. I'm going to pull this tight. I'm going to hold on to both the yarns on this end and pull this cut end. Hold on to both these yarns and pull this cut end, and then pull these ends, give it a nice tight pull. Then we need to cut our tails. So we just hold it together and cut right there. And don't panic, this is really going to stay together. As we pull this really tight, it just tightens up the knot. So now what I'm going to do is just pull off a bunch of this pink, la 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 la. Pull, 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 pull. Okay, so I'm going to pull off a bunch of that pink and then give it a cut and go on to the next color. So let's do some of this gray. I'm going to make another magic knot. Here we go. And another magic knot on that side. Pull this tight, then pull and pull and get my ends and clip. Okay, and you're just going to keep on, you can see, give it a pull. You're going to keep on doing that. So you're just going to keep pulling a bunch of this gray. Now, if you want, you can measure each of these, and you can make every single one of these strands 3 yards long. You can make them all 5 yards long. You can make them all 10 inches long, whatever floats your boat. I'm just being totally random here. I'm just pulling until I don't feel like pulling anymore, and then adding on the next color. So you go ahead and do whatever makes you happy as far as tying your yarns together and using this magic knot to join a bunch of yarns together is how you make magic yarn. In this case, I am using all the same yarn but just in different colors. You don't need to do that. You could also use all the same weight of yarn but different kinds of yarn altogether. You could use different weights of yarn. You just need to keep in mind that your fiber content changing is going to change your care method, your wash method, and also keep in mind that your yarn weight changing is going to change the gauge of your yarn. So if you're using this to knit or crochet with a really big hook or needles and you're going to have a really loose gauge, then it might not be such a big deal if your gauges, if you're mixing like a medium weight and a light weight and a DK and a fingering and a bulky, that might not matter so much if you are using a really big hook or needle and you have a really loose gauge. But if you want something with a nice, even, steady, tighter gauge, then you know what? You might need to make sure that all of your yarn is the same weight. You kind of want to decide that before you start tying and cutting your yarns. All right, so there we go. Here is, I'm stuck. Here is my magic yarn so far. I've got several colors. Here we go, all together. Whoopsie, smacked the camera. Now, what you also probably want to do is, as you're making this, at least wind it by hand a little bit as you go, and then when you're all done, if you want to wind it on a ball winder or something, you're totally fine. But if you don't wind this at least a little bit, if you don't wind this at least by hand and loosely as you go, then eventually you're going to have a knotted pile of yarn that's just going to make you miserable, and you're going to have to cut it all apart and tie it all together again, which will be sad. So make sure you wind as you go if you're making an entire ball of this. Have fun!